Grace. We know it when we see it. It's not something we do, it's something we are, a way of being, when the invisible becomes visible, an expression of our whole self. Stillness, beauty, power, and precision in the moment. No thought, just courage from the heart. It's how we choose to show up. It's who we are when it counts, when it matters most. Grace is everywhere and it's accessible to all of us. How we lead is a way of being, is the quality of how we relate with others. And most importantly, it's how we relate to ourselves. The Grace Under Pressure Masterclass teaches what almost every other business leadership course doesn't. It teaches the actual how-to of how to lead, how to harness the science of resilience, how to choose how we show up, when it counts, when it matters most. This year, consider taking how you lead to your next level. Join us for the Founders Grace Under Pressure Masterclass and Group Coaching Program, starting February 17th. Find out more at theelevatepartnership.com. Welcome everyone. Today I want to talk about understanding how we need to lead in 2022. So it is fair to say that we are all, wherever we are in the world, in the middle of a storm. We have COVID to contend with and the new variants that are emerging. We have the climate crisis that we are all trying to resolve and contribute to. And we have lots of other issues that are coming to the fore in terms of the loss of biodiversity, inequality that exists in society. There are still people who are homeless. There are still people who don't have enough money for food to eat and to survive comfortably. So it's a storm that we're all in. And as the press, certainly over here in the UK, has been saying, you know, we are all in the same storm, but we're all in different boats, and we need to figure out how to contend with this, how to change the course of humanity and where we're going, and that's where I'd like to start.
大家好，我叫炮。那今天我们要讲的主题是关于领导力。2022年，那么首先是我们全球正在经历一场风暴。那么这个风暴呢，包括我们 COVID-19 有疫情，我们正在经历的新冠疫情，然后包括气候危机、气候变化，还有包括我们在社会上也有很多问题，包括可能有很多无家可归的人。在英国呢，我们情况也是一样的，就是我们全人类都面临着共同的危机，那么我们大家需要为此做出贡献，然后共同来应对这场危机。
So I'd like to start by asking you to think about what do we mean by the words good leadership today? And I wanted to give us a little time to do that. I don't know if we can go into breakout groups here, but I wondered if we could take a short time for people to think about that and then share their thoughts.
今天首先呢，我们就是希望大家我们一起来思考一下什么是优秀的领导力。那么这里今天就不分组讨论，但是我希望大家还是花一点时间来思考一下这个问题，什么是优秀的领导力。
So my assumption is that people will now go away and think through what is good leadership and be ready to come back and share their thoughts with everyone else in about 8 minutes. So what we know from the evidence in academic studies, from the evidence of case studies, is that many strategic initiatives fail because of the people dimension. Because we don't get people piece right.
那么有很多学术研究，包括案例研究，都表明， 很多战略变革计划都往往会失败，而这些失败呢，都是因为人的因素造成的，人为的因素。
And one of the reasons for this is because we don't pay attention or enough attention to the difference between the leader as a person and leadership as a practice.
那其中一个原因呢，就是因为我们没有区分好作为人的领导者跟作为实践的领导力，他们这两者之间的区别。
Being a leader is about becoming yourself. Warren Bennis, who is a noted management writer, said it's the same as becoming yourself. It's that easy and it's that difficult.
那么作为领导者，我们成为一个领导者，实际上是一个自我蜕变的过程，就像那个管理学方面的作家沃伦·本尼斯说的，就是成为领导者的过程，那是一个我们塑造自我蜕变的过程。这个过程说简单，但也很难。
It sounds simple. If I asked you, do you have a good relationship with yourself? Do you talk to yourself in ways that are kind and empathetic? Most of you, I think, would say yes. Yet in reality, when we are placed into an environment that is pressurized because we don't know what to do, we don't have much time, or we don't have enough resources, then the quality of how we relate changes. And therefore, becoming yourself and being yourself is actually more difficult than perhaps we would like to think it is.
就如果我问大家一个问题，就是说，你觉得与自己建立的关系如何？你是如何与自己自处的？那么很多人会觉得，就是觉得自己可能与自我建立的关系是平和的，是很好的，是有益的。但其实如果让你到一个充满压力的环境当中，你会不知道怎么去就会变得
is that we're all on a journey and we may be in different places along that journey. And you'll see here, I've put an arrow that says you are here.
是同样的问题，虽然我们是处在不同的地方，但是关于我们是谁，我们的经历，这个当中具体还是有区别的。这个研究的显示，就是在全球社会领袖的他们信任度持续下滑。那么这些人包括政府领导人、宗教领袖、记者，包括 CEO， 即便 CEO 表现的比其他人更好。那对比之下呢，就是像我们的雇主，还有科学家，还有包括我们社区、我们身边的人，他们的信任度会更好一些。那问题是，如果我们就是在领导力发展项目上做了大量的投资，那么对于这张表这个数据，它会能发生什么样的变化呢？那这个问题它不在于就我们不理解领导力实践，我们当然理解，但是问题就在于我们如何将我们对领导力实践的理解付诸实践。那么这个是 Laden， 它是 lead 的词源，是古英语。让我们就是回归到这个词的本意当中。那这个词看，那这个词义就是说 ，lead 它有引领，走在前面，然后并指明方向。那这个词的理解呢，它能更好的帮助我们理解领导这个词，就是关注我们是谁。因为正因为我们知道我们是谁，然后我们才去做，才去领导。那我们压力无处不在，就像我们经常在报纸、电视上经常报道的，我们的工业它面临压力，然后政治、金融也都在面临压力。除此之外，就包括我们自己，包括我们自身，我们的思想、我们的身体、我们的灵魂都在遭受着压力，包括我们自己，包括生态系统也是如此。那领导者，我们知道领导者现在压力越来越大。就首先可能作为领导者，我们要会有自我要求，它需要我们精力旺盛，然后也需要 我们有坚定的信念和动力，需要我们从来不暴露自己的缺点。那CEO 的工作呢，也需要我们全身心的投入，这样我们有时候就是可能永远都无法从工作中抽身，然后这个时候也会导致我们的身体健康的压力。然后这个时候呢，我们可能就会想说，如何在压力面前保持优雅，不让别人看到你流汗的样子。
And what is required for leaders in 2022 is to create better balance, to counter these pressures. So to look at ways of taking leisure activities that provide a series of personal resources, such as energy or joy or mental toughness or discipline, but also as a safe haven, as a way to detach from all the pressures that we face, to give us room to think more clearly, to give us room to recharge our energy, so that when we go back into the demands of work, we're able to do that with strength, with courage, and with fortitude.
所以在2022年，领导者我们需要去寻找一个更好的平衡，来释放这个压力。深度休闲就是一个很好的方式，我们汲取能量，寻找快乐，然后提升我们的创造力，让自我感觉良好。然后深度休闲呢，它也是一个让我们可以暂时从领导者角色中脱离的一种方式，它是一个安全感，可以让我们就是相当于的另一条可以站立的腿，就是让我们充电，可以有更好的精力和勇气来面对工作。
And if we take a neurobiological view of ourselves as human beings, because we all have a common neurobiology wherever we are in the world, then if we allow stress and trauma to continue, then our window of tolerance for pressure decreases. And what happens is either we move to become dysregulated, so we become aggressive, avoidant, stressed, we're highly vigilant, and we're mobilized to make sure we're safe at all costs.
那从神经科学的角度来讲，如果我们的压力它是持续的，那么会导致我们的容纳之窗变小，然后我们会遭受压力和创伤。这个时候呢，甚至会出现一个调节障碍，那让我们的警觉性增强，变得有攻击性，然后会回避问题，然后这个时候会想尽一切办法让自己处于一个安全的那个境地。
Our neurobiology also works the other way, in that if our window of tolerance shrinks enough, then we enter a state called hypoarousal, which means we shut down, we withdraw, and we contain ourselves in a way that means we disengage from the rest of the world.
那如果这个容纳之窗是缩小到极致的时候，我们就会出现一个过度紧张。那这个时候呢，我们可能会真的把自己彻底的封闭起来，与外界隔绝。
That is the place where eventually life becomes, and people choose to end their lives, and that is not acceptable in our society today. Consequently, the work we need to do looks at expanding our window of tolerance, and that involves paying attention to activities that help develop the strength of one of the key nerves within our body, the vagus nerve, that stretches through, that touches all our primary organs, that stretches from the brain down into the gut. And there are a range of activities that we can do that I am proposing we need to refocus on. And some of these you will recognize from your own culture and way of being.
那么为此呢，我们就应该要做的是要扩大我们的 容纳之窗。那容纳之窗这个时候呢，就包括了很多活动，这类活动比如说产生迷走神经张力的活动。迷走神经也是我们很多神经当中的一个，它主要是可以刺激到我们的各种主要的感官。那么此外我们还可以参加很多的活动，包括可能涉及到我们自己文化的活动，包括更多的去专注我们存在的方式。
What we need are leaders to speak congruently from their heart and their gut as much as from their head. The science tells us that our heart communicates more frequently with the brain than the brain with the heart, and that we have 3 centers within our bodies where we have brain-like structures that enable us to navigate through the world more effectively, more clearly, and more towards what you might call true north.
我们希望领导者呢，在表达想法时能够遵从自己的内心和直觉。那么因为科学显示，我们就是你的大脑跟我们的身体，你的大脑身体跟我们的思想它是连结的。
And I am excited because we are, I believe, at a threshold of possibility. Whereas previously we would only focus on the rational and we would not pay attention to the things that are intuitive, the things that are emotional, and the things that our body is telling us. When we cross the threshold to bring those 3 together, we create a different quality of relationship with ourselves and with other people, and therefore create better, more improved leaders and leadership practice.
我们这目前处在一个临界点，就是在之前我们更多的都注重理性治理，而忽略了直觉、情感和身体治理。那么现在我们跨越这个临界点，然后将我们的理性、直觉、情感、身体都结合起来，这样的话可以更好的处理我们与自己，还有包括我们与他人之间的关系，然后可以培养出更多更优秀的领导人。
So in activating our supernature, I propose this approach. It is a combination of different thoughts from different domains and disciplines of science and psychology and philosophy. It blends Western thinking with Eastern thinking and tries to bring together an open framework.
这个是我提出的一个框架，叫 GRACE 框架。因为这个框架它融合了很多领域、很多学科的东西，包括有心理学、有哲学，还有西方思维、东方思维。
It's a circle because you can start anywhere on the process. It may be that you need to create something. So it's a circular model. It's an open source model. And it's something that everyone can use. So let me explain briefly what each bit is. So grounding is bringing ourselves into center, which practitioners of Qigong, practitioners of Tai Chi will know this very well. How do you ground? How do you attach yourself to the earth? And then how do you align your body and your mind, body, and spirit in a way that you are grounded? How do you connect with the soil? That's what grounding is about. Because most people, certainly in the West, don't ground and they forget to do this. Resolve. So let me pause there.
那么这个框架它是一个循环的，它是一个很开放的框架，就是对于我们每个人都适用。那么 grounding 它是着陆，它是说就是让我们就是沉下来，就是说中心于那就是比如说我们练那个气功，练太极，就是让我们沉下来去感受我们与地球、与自己的身体、与精神的一个连接。那么在西方呢，就是大家也会经常忘记做这样的一个着陆练习。
Resolve addresses the fact that there are problems with goal setting. Very often we'll talk about smart goal setting, but that actually constrains our ability to think big. It ignores the idea of intention, and it also ignores the idea that goals can change over time. So the goal we have today so for example, I took up martial arts very late in life, and the goal was to get a black belt. However, that has changed because as I have practiced, I have learned that it's about not wearing a piece of clothing, but becoming the person worthy of wearing a piece of clothing. And that is a very different goal.
然后就是这个二，它是决心的意思。然后这里呢，涉及到的是一个目标设定，就像我们现在常用的 SMART goals。SMART goals 就是要求我们去，比如说有可能比较宏大的一些目标，然后我们去朝着这个目标去实现，去改变。那么这个就像举个例子，就比如说我们要武术，就在最初的时候，我们的目标可能是比如说我们想拿到黑带，但是渐渐的呢，我们会意识到这个目标会发生一个改变。
Acceptance. If we don't accept the world as it is, if we don't accept ourselves, if we find something wrong with us that we don't like, or we don't accept someone around us, then that takes up a lot of energy, a lot of unnecessary energy that distracts us from the goals that we're trying to accomplish. So accept is about finding ways to forgive things around us, to accept that at times life may be good, at times life may be not so good. It just is in that moment. And it's helping leaders understand that this acceptance opens up a tremendous well of energy that would otherwise be distracted unhelpfully on worrying or thinking about things that it's not helpful to think about.
那么 acceptance， 那么 A 这个是指的是接纳，就是如果我们不能与这个世界、与自己、与他人就有良好关系的话，我们可能会为此耗费很多的精力，然后会可能分心，然后会影响到我们去实现自己的目标。那这个时候我们就要寻找方法，就是去接纳。那接纳其中有一个方法，比如说 forgiveness， 就是要宽恕，就是可能对我们遇到的事情就抱以一种宽恕的心态。那么领导者如果有接纳的心理的话，那么他会发现一个充满能量的一个世界。
It's about the idea that the thinking that got us into the problems that we have today is not the thinking that we need to solve those problems today. It's a quote from Albert Einstein. And if we are not grounded, if we do not have resolve, and our energy is distracted because we don't accept things, then our ability to apply ourselves to create what is really needed, a new way of leading, new solutions to difficult problems, then we're unable to create. So create is about thinking about how do we look at a blank piece of paper, possibly one of the most terrifying things there is, and say, how am I going to do that without copying what already exists? How am I going to create something new? How am I going to create something that has impact?
那么就像爱因斯坦说的，我们不能用就是我们用我们解决问题的思维去想创造性的方法。那么如果我们没有着入，没有坚定的决心，没有说抱以一种接纳的心态，那么我们就无法去创造出我们真正需要的东西，创造出我们需要的领导方法， 解决方案。那问题就在我们不能想的去，比如说去复制别人复制已经有的东西，而是我们要创造新的东西，这个是创造关注的点。
And the final step in the GRACE framework is to embody. So there is a phrase from the Asare tribe in Indonesia, which is, knowledge is only rumor until it lives in our bones. And therefore, we need to establish a practice in much the way as if we were learning a musical instrument, like a piano, or if we were learning a martial art, we need to have a daily routine that enables us to practice this whole framework of, am I grounded? What is my resolve? Am I accepting of myself, system, and other? Am I free to create? And embody is putting all that into practice.
那么 E 就是具身化，就是把我们前面的 GRAC 就是我们的着陆，把我们的决心以及接纳还有创造性的东西就是付诸实践，就每天不断地练习，就像我们学乐器一样，就是比如钢琴，我们要每天都要练习，然后才能达到高超的技艺。这个就像我们就是在巴布亚新几内亚一个古部落当中，以前就说过一句话，如果你不加以应用的话，那么它就只是道听途说。
So this is a non-directed model. It takes thinking from different disciplines to provide an integrated lens. It is open source, so I am not saying I have invented something new. I have simply joined dots together. It aligns with other models that are already established. I think I'd like to suggest that this is a missing piece that would be helpful. It is open source because I am making it available under a Creative Commons license, so I am encouraging people to develop it, to grow it, to think about it, to adapt it to their own circumstances. And it integrates the intelligence of the body with the intelligence that exists inside our skull.
那在就使用 GRACE 框架的时候呢，我们会有几个原则。第一个呢，它是一个非指令的模型。第二个是我们要采取就是思维要是一致性的，然后这样呢会有助于形成一个比较综合完整的一个视角。它的方法呢是开源方法。那么与此同时，它会跟其他的模型，像我们常用的 GROW 模型是要保持一个一致性。同时呢，它是获得创意许可的。那么用 GRACE 框架的时候，我们同时也鼓励大家就是要进行一个身心的整合，就是我们的身体跟我们的认知要形成一个整合的运用。
So I'm wondering, is this a paradigm shift? Is this a shift in the model? And I'm not proposing to read all these to you here. Excuse me. You have the slide. But each of these quotes is from research from around the world and from papers that have been written that attempts to bring all of this together. Excuse me. That says, here is the evidence that suggests why this model has life in it, why this model is helpful to those trying to lead better in 2022.
那么这些呢是我是来自全球，就是很多我们作者写的论文，然后摘抄下来的。那么这些话，它是就是可以用来就是作为证据，然后表明这个 GRACE 框架它对提升领导力是有帮助的。
So I'm conscious of time and I want to leave enough time for questions. But I leave you with a question that says, if any of this has resonated with you, what will you now do differently tomorrow as a result of this? And what questions do you have that it would be useful to explore with your colleagues, with your friends, and with your family?
那么现在就是我们思考一个问题，就是说，比如说明天你会做一些什么不同的事情，然后可能跟你的同事、跟你的家人可能相处的时候，你会做一些 什么不同的事情会有什么不同的变化。
And I leave you with this thought, that all models, and there are plenty of models, are wrong. The practical question is, how wrong do they have to be for them not to be useful?
这句话呢，就是其实值得大家思考一下，就是所有的模型它都是错的，但至少它其中有一点其实还是有用的。
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have for you today. I hope that's been interesting. I hope that's been useful.
以上就是今天我讲的内容，希望对大家有用。